Yes, via the magic of Hollywood, I have transported myself to my Animal Crossing island. Look, I'm here on the island of, what did I call it? Flange. Disgusting. If you want to see it, I think I've done a town tour before. Anyway, obviously that's why I'm dressed like this, because I'm on a tropical island and not in front of a green screen. And not in front of a green screen. Hello, my name is J-Turn, you can call me Jake, everybody does, and today we're going to be talking, let go, let's do that again. And today we're going to be talking about Animal Crossing New Horizons, which, happy birthday for this week, Animal Crossing New Horizons, you just turned 1. Terrifying. If there was one game that united all of us, most of us, in the first lockdown, it was Animal Crossing. It just came out at that perfect time, right? At like just a weirdly perfect moment in a very strange historic moment in society where everybody was available to play it and everyone wanted to play it. And now we're coming up to a year since that time. Yes, that's right, we've been locked in our houses for nearly a year. In the UK at least. I know that the lockdown orders haven't been as generous in other countries, but here we have largely spent the best part of 12 months, if you're good, indoors. And I think I am not underestimating when I say that that game was a cultural moment, like an absolute runaway success. Quoting Jay Peter from The Verge, "The updates and the game's popularity have made it a huge success, selling more than 30 million copies since launch. Those unprecedented numbers make it the second highest selling game on the Switch, trailing only Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, and dwarf the most recent main entry, Animal Crossing New Leaf, which sold just over 12 million copies on the 3DS. But that's just in the context of like Nintendo and the Switch, right? To really understand these numbers and to contextualize them, we need to look at the list of best-selling video games of all time. On the list of the world's best-selling video games, right, Animal Crossing New Horizons is number 15. The best-selling video games of all time, Animal Crossing, is number 15. And it's only been out a year, like it's just about to hit the year's anniversary. In 1 year, it has outsold f***ing Skyrim. More people have button mashed their way through crafting f***ing fish and bait than have woken up to that stupid carriage intro that everyone memes about. It outsold the fucking Witcher 3 and all of its like DLCs, right? That's insane. And no one can convince me that that Netflix series with Henry Cavill wasn't because of the success of The Witcher 3 either. I know it's not based on the games, it's based on the books, but come on, it's the game that got that series made. So the next natural assumption is that Netflix is going to make a gritty series version of Animal Crossing starring, I don't know, Ewan McGregor as Tom Nook and Mads Mikkelsen as Crazy Red. That would be so sick. Now, if you've been following me for a while, you know that I loved this game. I really put my hours into this game. Like, when I was first streaming on Twitch and stuff like that, I would do it with my little morning Animal Crossing dailies. I would just like have my morning coffee and do my little Animal Crossing routine. Like, I used to do town tours and stuff like that. I was in little group chat communities and stuff, and we would all like organise getting together so that we could all drop furniture and pick it back up again so that we could all have it in our catalogues. It was f***ing adorable. In fact, I think that Animal Crossing was part of how I found a community to spend my time with through the first part of lockdown, where we really couldn't go anywhere or see anyone. The doors were just closed. We'd never done pandemic before or anything, and it felt frightening and it felt isolating. So the game really launched at the perfect time to take advantage of that feeling. Now, like I said, it's a year later, and in today's video, we're going to talk about how the game stands up a year later, being able to look at it in retrospect without that kind of emotional attachment, right? And the way that I'm going to do that is I'm going to, like the last year later video I did, which was about Pokemon Sword and Shield, I'm going to do it in a little sort of numbered list that sandwiches like good things and bad things. Because like I said already, I loved this game, but part of my love for things is often ripping them to pieces. But before we get into it, we have to get the YouTube stuff out of the way. So I would just like to say that if you could like and comment on this video, give it the old double whammy, then that helps YouTube know that you really liked it, and it really helps me out as a small channel to help me grow and to get all those numbers on my side. So if you like this video, then yeah, just leave me a comment down below and hit the little thumbs up button. If you don't know what to comment, then why don't you leave me a little sun emoji, because we're on the tropical island of Animal Crossing land. I don't want to say the name of my island too much because it's a silly, dirty word. It also really helps if you think, and if you can think of anyone that would like this video, if you could share it with them, that would be amazing as well, because I know for me personally, I love getting personal recommendations from people of the YouTube videos they think I would like, because a personal recommendation from someone you respect just means so much, doesn't it? It's lovely. If you are interested in supporting the channel as well, I have a £1 Patreon, and I will leave details about that in the description below, as well as a reading list, like I do every one of these videos, of the kind of the things I watched and read and that whilst I was researching this video. Okay, I think that's all of the guff and stuff out of the way. Why don't we get cracking on the video? Cool. So here's the first thing that I loved about Animal Crossing. The visuals. Without a doubt, this is an absolutely stunning entry into the Animal Crossing series. I absolutely love the design. I like that signature Animal Crossing effect of like the little highlighted, exaggerated emotions. I love the look of the sea. I love how the music changes as you approach the beach. It's just all so gorgeous. I love all the villagers waddling around with their little silly bodies as well, and doing little exercise routines and dances and hobbies and hunting bugs. It's all so cozy, right? It's just really nice. And it offered a kind of twee comfort that I really needed at the time that I played it, okay? I think it makes really lovely use of the Switch's graphical capabilities. And it looked great on handheld as well, which is how I played it. I think the only times I ever played it docked were like the very first time I got it, and then whenever I streamed it, I guess. The fact that like now you can even see like little textures on some of the Animal Crossing villagers, right? Like, oh, I just love them so much. They all look so gorgeous. Their colors really pop. But then we need to get into the first thing I was a little bit on, and that's also the villagers. The villagers were really, God, they were quite boring, weren't they? Like there was some fun to finding the villagers that you really loved and villagers that you really liked, but it was kind of all just about looks, wasn't it? The ones that you liked the look of, because all of them, if they had the same personality, would just say the same stuff to you. I only jumped in on the Animal Crossing series at Wild World, right? And there's a couple that I've missed in between. The YouTuber Tamahiro, she is an absolute expert in the subject, right? She's played every single game. She's done far more research than I have. You should listen to her, not me. But she has a video that is like a breakdown of villager behavior and how it's changed throughout the games. Now I knew something was off with the villager interactions in this game, right? Because they all just felt so hollow and a bit empty and a bit boring and a bit repetitive. But in Tama's video, she outlines how there's actually quite a lot of complexity to villager interaction. But there are a couple of mistakes in there that actually really limit what you get out of your villagers. Like apparently, although there are lots of other things they can say, every villager is heavily weighted to just comment on the things you've recently done on the island and people who visit. And when Tama said that in her video, I was like, God, you know what? That's right. All I ever hear from these people is like, oh, I saw you dig that bug. Did you like that when you dug the bug? Good. Or they'll be like, oh, I saw Jimmy come over the other day. Do you like Jimmy? Good. He came over the other day, and I'm like, yeah, I know, I was there. I was literally there. I was digging the bug. Do you have anything else to say? Of all the Animal Crossing games I've ever played, the villagers felt, in this game, they feel the least like living personalities than they ever have. Does that make sense? At least that they feel the least like living personalities that they ever have. You get what I mean. They just feel like little, they just feel like more furniture to some extent. They're not living their own lives. This is your own island that you can rip all the way down and build all the way up, and they're just there as little collectibles. And speaking of rip down and build up, terraforming, so good, so good. Putting the customizability of this game so high up has made it so that there is so much freedom in there, right? And seeing what some people build online is incredible. The kind of things that people put together just out of their brains, like ridiculous. I tried to do my island a little nice terraform and make it look good, and it looked terrible. Like, once I got to looking online, I was just like basically collecting ideas from other people for my island for a lot of it, right? I tried my very best to be original, but it's so difficult when everything online is so good and I'm just so shit. I love making little rivers. I love making little, what's it called? Waterfalls. I love making little waterfalls. I love it. Even being able to just do silly stuff like have a lake outside my museum with a T-Rex in it. Like, it's great. I love it. But then, this brings me on to my number 2 thing that makes me go, eh. And that is also the terraforming. It's just wildly inaccurate, right? Like, that shovel is the absolute bane of my life. The fact that it can't be more specific, the fact that there isn't a highlighted grid for you to be able to use, it just shows that I think they're trying to deliberately hold you back from doing what everyone has managed to do online anyway, right? They don't want you to renovate your entire island. They want you to make little tweaks. They want you to keep everything still looking natural, right? Like, they don't want you to, like some people have done, destroy every single piece of land on your island so that there's only water. That's incredible that people manage to do that with the sheer amount of time it takes to do this in this game. Like, the animation time alone, like, it takes so long to do this terraforming, right? So long. I really think as well that it has changed the series permanently in a way that won't take it back, right? It is now an island building game with, you know, town sim elements, right? Whereas I think in the beginning it was really a town sim. Now it's very much like an island building game. It's something for you to make the most pretty thing you can and share it online, right? And I think that's a very different investment of time. Something else I hate about it as well is when you're moving people's houses. Like, this happened to me once, right? I wanted to move someone's house, and so then when I moved it, I accidentally moved it, but it was just one row off. So then it was in the wrong place. So then I couldn't put the house where I wanted it to because it was only one row off, so then it would have been overlapping with where a house already existed. So I had to spend 100,000 bells moving a house somewhere else in the island so that then I could move it back the next day, one row back. So that took me 100,000 bells and 2 days. Because obviously, like, it takes a day for it to be moved, and then it takes a day for it to be moved back. And it's just so annoying, right? Like, how could you do something that's so good for the series and also be rubbish? I think as well it wouldn't be too bold to say that the terraforming is probably like 90% of my compare and despair from this game, right? Because everyone was playing it, everyone in the entire world, so everyone was sharing what their islands looked like and how well they'd terraformed it. And I think that like everyone's playing it element of it, right? Like, yeah, that was one of the things I really liked about it. I know this doesn't really inform anything about the gameplay of it, right? But like, this game has its place in pop culture history. Nintendo reported that it sold 5.7 million Switches from April to June 2020, which was 2.1 million more than the year before. But most astonishingly, right, half of them were used to play Animal Crossing in that time frame. That's stupid, right? Like, no wonder this thing is one of the best-selling games of all time in like less than a year. Who was it? Was it Elijah Wood was playing it and going to someone's island for a trade? The Joe Biden campaign had an official Animal Crossing island. I think AOC was doing some Animal Crossing visits at one point as well. And then Nintendo was like, ended up putting out guidelines for how companies could use their own brands within the game. And also they said no more politics inside Animal Crossing. Like, it was a moment. It was a moment. And then with those with those corporate guidelines then came, you know, corporate content, which is another one of my things about this game. There's definitely, I know that there can be, there's less stuff in this game. And I know that's because they're probably going to choke it out over updates over the next year or so, but I say that as if it just came out. It's been a year now. Like, where are gyroids? Where's Brewster? Do you know what I mean? They don't seem to be on the roadmap. But what we're getting is like Mario-themed items and Sanrio-themed items. Like, all kinds of corporate promotional stuff that just seems to be collectibles, right? Oh god, and these like seasonal events as well all have their own kind of in-game currency. Like, I've still got heart gems from the last wedding season or whatever. I guess that'll be coming around again soon. Oh, and eggs for the bunny day thing, which will come around first as well. Like, every season of new content, every event just seems to give you more things you have to save up and grind for in order to get the event exclusive items. So it's really just turning the gameplay loop into like grinding and collecting so that you can show everyone else online using the online features that you have all of that stuff and you can take the best pictures for your Animal Crossing Instagram. Like, this isn't, you know, the gameplay's just different. That's not inherently a bad thing, but I don't like it. I don't like that gameplay loop of just grinding out enough in-game currency to buy the things I want, or, you know, or to get the recipes for it or whatever, because the recipes are also, or it's like ingredients for the recipes, right? The recipes also being basically like an RNG thing, right? Where you might not get the best recipes, so then you have to go online and then you have to interact with other people, and that's good, and it's good that there's a way to make you interact with people, but like, it's almost loot boxy. Something about it tastes bad in my mouth. Do you know what I mean? But then because I am a person of nuance and many layers, my next good thing is about in-game currency. And that's Nook Miles. I think Nook Miles and the Nook Mile challenges, right, were a very good idea. Because it's basically just another layer of gamifying all the little things you would be doing otherwise with your dailies, right? So to get Nook Miles tickets, no, sorry, it's Nook Miles points, isn't it? The Nook Miles tickets you buy with the Nook points. But just being told, like, yeah, go catch 3 fish. My brain thrives with that, okay? I can't just get in there and be like, what will I do today to spend some time on my island? I need to get in there, and if there's a to-do list for me to check off, brilliant, brilliant, that's fantastic, because then I know that I can have good organised fun by going through my checklist and getting my Nook Miles tickets. Those exclusive items that you can buy with it and stuff like that as well, they're brilliant. I know then they became kind of a weird currency, didn't they, because people were grinding out so many island visits in order to get the villagers they wanted, just so that they could say they had them. Again, like, it's just made this, there are a lot of ways in which this game has become super shallow, but I still have my fun out of it, so I think that the Nook Miles extended the amount of time that I spent with the game and the amount of time that I was interested in it, to be honest. Like, it really sort of, it adds structure to a game that so sorely lacks it, and the lack of structure makes people think that there's nothing to do, right? For everyone that bought this Animal Crossing game and said, oh, there's nothing to do, there's no way to spend my time, like, I don't think they get Animal Crossing, because if they'd have played an Animal Crossing like 3 games ago, I think they would have found even less direction in it. Do you know what I mean? They wouldn't have known what to do with their time. This game, I think, is really good at giving you structure and telling you what to do with your time. Like, the way that the like story of the game leads you into teaching you about like the town island rating and stuff like that, that's cool. It just really kind of does lead you more into showing you what can be done with your time, to the point that almost just enjoying your time in game feels like you're wasting it. Do you know what I mean? Anyway, like I said, I think by rambling I've ruined the segue now. I was talking about how they use Nook Miles tickets as an in-game currency and online, and now we can talk about the online opportunities, right? The fact that everyone became so proud of their islands, which have become so customizable, and one island can look so madly different from the next, really sort of gave a kick up the arse to this Dream Islands feature, because now people are able to list their islands online for, I mean, you've been able to do it before, sorry, I phrased that poorly, but you know, the Dream Islands feature is now more usable than ever before, okay? I'm pretty sure the Dream Islands feature was how they got that Biden island, right, and just gave it out to everyone. You know, there are celebrities and there are museums and places like that, all making islands that you can just visit anytime you want. It's not like multiplayer where you have to be connected to it or anything like that, right? And I just think that's really cool. Also, Nookazon is a brilliant idea, right? I know that they're probably never going to include anything like that in the main game, okay? Because it just corporatifies it too much, I think. But the whole idea of Nookazon, the website, is that people list items they want and they list items they're selling, and you can exchange like bells, Nook Mars tickets, stuff like that, and the site lets you exchange friend codes so that you can visit their island and go pick up the item that you want. And it's just such a good example of like fan ingenuity, right? There's other websites as well, like Turnip Calculator and stuff for the Stalk Exchange. So you can, people who have incredibly good stalk market prices can list their island on these websites and tell everyone who will listen, like, oh, I've got insane prices for my turnips, come here and sell them, come here and sell them. And then they make a mint out of that, because they say to people like, oh, you need to give me Nook Mars tickets, you need to give me rare materials. And I just think that, again, it just shows such good ingenuity, right? Like I mentioned a little bit earlier, when I met up with my friends, we came up with a way in which we could all expand our furniture catalogues by picking up each other's stuff and then also giving it back. So what we did was we got 8 people on one island, we organised everyone into a circle so that everyone had somewhere to stand, and then we would all drop our items, rotate to the next part of the circle, pick up all those items and drop them again, until eventually we'd been all the way around the circle and everyone had picked up everything and dropped it again. So you would end up back in your own square where you could then pick up all the items you brought with you and then go, knowing that when you got home you could use the catalogue to order everything that everyone else had had at that event. Do you know, it was really fun. It was fun organising it in a group chat, it was fun talking about it, it was surprisingly messy when we were actually in the game, and that made it more fun. Like, the opportunity to be able to do things like that and have a kind of emergent gameplay from the multiplayer elements with your friends is just really, really good. And no other game lately has given me that kind of gameplay either. And I think it was a unique combination of people being so available because of the pandemic and everyone having this game, right? Even in Minecraft, I've never found that many people to have those kind of experiences with all at once like I did with Animal Crossing. Honestly, like it puts a smile on my face to think of all the ways I spent time with friends using that game, and I think I'm always going to remember it. What I will probably forget as the slow march of time rosies this experience is all the f***ing quality of life choices that they didn't make. There are so many ways that this improves the series, like, you know, catalogs, phone apps, and you know, the terraforming, stuff like that. The tool wheel, really good. There are so many ways that it is improved. And there are just so many in which they chose not to. Like, there had to be a point at which they chose not to improve things in a way that was so obvious. For one, crafting, right? So in this game, they added crafting, right? Fantastic, that's an improvement. But what they didn't do was let you craft with materials from your storage. So what you have to do is, from your crafting bench, if you don't have the right materials, quit the crafting bench, go into your storage, take the items out of storage and put them into your pockets, go back over to the crafting bench, then go into the crafting bench and craft what it is you need. And just to twist the knife even further, you can only craft one of each thing at a time. So if you need to, say, craft 4 tables, you best take out enough materials, otherwise you're going to need to go back. If you've taken out enough materials, then once you've crafted the table, then you have to kick open the crafting table again, craft the chair, kick open the crafting table again, craft the chair. It is crazy. I mean, a chair is not even that good an example because you only need 4 of them, but like fishing bait, for example, something that you would use a lot of, right? If you're doing a lot of fishing because you're encouraged to fill the catalogue with rare fish that take a lot of attempts, you can only craft 1 at a time. So like, crafting fishing bait takes absolutely ages. The time investment in crafting fishing bait is crazy, considering as well that you have to run up and down the beach, keeping an eye out for those little squirts coming up to get the materials for it. I just think, that came up in playtesting. That came up in playtesting. I refuse to believe it didn't, okay? Which then means it was a deliberate choice to leave it more difficult than it should be. I understand wanting to keep the game's pace slow. I understand wanting to make sure that people spend leisurely time in it, but let them spend that leisurely time fishing. Don't you want people to spend leisurely time enjoying their time in the game? This goes again for like, the online capabilities, okay? When you're getting into the plane to go fly to someone else's island, there's like 5 different conversation branches you have with that big pelican until you can actually go. You must know, if you're including all of these online features, that the most commonly used one is going to be flying to other people's islands. So why is that 5 conversation branches deep? And if I fuck up any of them, I have to start again. Do you know what I mean? Oh, and also, you can't close the phone app for me, like the Terraforming app. If I have the Terraforming app open, I have to quit that conversation, close the app, then go back into the conversation with him. Like, just tell me you're gonna shut it off. Just tell me you're gonna shut it off, okay? Picking things up, right? Something as simple as picking things up. You have to repeatedly press the button if you're walking through a big group of things that you want to pick up. And the animation for shoving it in your dirty little pocket is just longer than it needs to be. Okay, it's like only a second, but all those seconds add up when you're picking up loads of stuff. Or for instance, weeding. When you first get to an island, it's covered in weeds and rocks and shit. And then you have to pick all of that up for your island to look nice. That means mashing a button and waiting while it pauses and picks up. And it's just, this video by a YouTuber called Fudge, love his channel, been watching him for ages now, and I really would recommend his video that I watched for this video. It's called Animal Crossing, a microcosm of Nintendo, I think. And he mentions in it how games like Don't Starve and Stardew Valley have been doing this right for years. There's like no excuse. Other games have been getting these kind of things much more smooth for a long time, so then going back to these games, going back to Animal Crossing, just feels so clunky. And like I said, I get wanting to, you know, spend your time leisurely. These games want to slow you down, but I think you need to pick your battles, because slowing things down by making things more frustrating is a choice, isn't it? Like, it's a choice. Don't Starve and Stardew Valley just let you hold a button, right? If you're repeatedly doing an action. But Animal Crossing doesn't. And I know maybe it doesn't fit in with the Animal Crossing aesthetic, but like just having a little highlight, an optional highlight to be able to see where your axe is going to swing or where you're going to pick something up, just like they have in Stardew Valley, would be good, right? I feel like it would also be a sensible accessibility feature. But then again, I guess we're coming back round to the terraforming, right? Why doesn't that have a grid? Why is that so wildly inaccurate? Like, oh, sorry to finish on a raw note, but that's my last thing. So I guess now let's get into summarizing my thoughts and feelings. I think part of how I normally evaluate these things, just to try and be objective, right, is this game cost me 50 quid. Did I get 50 quid's worth of fun out of this game? Absolutely. I absolutely did. I got 50 quid's worth of fun out of this game. I think it is a good game. I think it's good value for money. I think there's plenty to do in it. I think it's good fun. I love the aesthetic. I had a good time with it. I know a lot of that may have been because of the consequences of it. Sorry, not the consequences. May have been because of the situation surrounding its release, but I do think that that game would have been able to stand on its own 2 legs without the pandemic. Maybe it wouldn't have been like as runaway success, right? Like it wouldn't have gone as crazy without the pandemic, but I know I still would have bought it and I think I would have loved it. Does it have problems? Yes, loads of them. It's got lots of problems, okay? For a game that wants to push their online mode so much, it is unforgivable that it is so clunky. In fact, in lots of ways it's unforgivable that Animal Crossing is so clunky. Nintendo has an insane amount of games on that best selling of all time list, right? Nintendo has the most, out of all publishers, Nintendo has the most highest selling games of all time, okay? Like, there is no excuse for these things to be so common about Nintendo games, okay? Why is their online service so shit when online is so synonymous with gaming these days, right? I know that Animal Crossing New Horizons is a different developer from Pokemon Sword and Shield, right? And I know that the Pokemon company is supposed to run its own shit. So why are there so many coincidences between their online experiences? Why are both their online experiences done in such an inexplicable way and are so clunky? Do you know what I mean? Does that make sense? I feel like there are too many coincidences there for it to be a coincidence. I think there's been a similar issue in the past with like, pulling this from Fudge's video again, like Mario Party, I think. Mario Party game has online features, but you can't play Mario Party online, just the minigames. Why? Why? Why would you do that? Same with like, I think, this is from his video, right? You should really go watch his video. I'm basically just pulling it from his video now. I think there was like a Mario Maker that you couldn't, that you could play with other people online co-op style, but you at first you couldn't play with your friends, and then they added it later. Whether that was always on the cards, I think people still don't know, or whether it was done because of outrage, but why wouldn't you release this as being able to do it with friends? On what earth do you think people are going to want to and be excited about doing that with strangers? Delay the multiplayer, because multiplayer is for doing with friends. I don't know, man. I just think that Nintendo, as a publisher, do so many weird things that it's starting to become unavoidable. I think that's a good word. Unavoidable, okay? And in Pokemon, people are like, oh, it's a kid's game, don't worry about it. And in this, it's like, oh, it's a kid's game, don't worry about it. But I don't think a majority of their gamers are kids, okay? I think definitely that probably more people over 18 play Animal Crossing than do under. That can't keep being your excuse. Nintendo is clever enough to aggressively monetize things. It should be clever enough to be able to clean up online play into a decent, streamlined experience. That shit with the airport and the conversation trees through that, and the fact that when you're visiting someone's island, if someone else is on their way in, the whole island shuts down and makes everyone watch a cutscene. If someone's on their way out, the whole island shuts down for everyone and makes everyone watch a cutscene. That shit's unforgivable. If you know why that was, if you know why they did that, please do tell me in the comments below, because I would love to know why they made that choice to, why they made that choice for that to work that way. Is it like some kind of cheat avoidance? I don't know. If you know, tell me, because I personally thought that shit was unforgivable. Having done several outings to people's islands where there's 8 of us, having to sit through those cutscenes 7 times until everyone gets in there and then you can start playing is just ridiculous, okay? I can't see the reasoning. I cannot see the reasoning. So in summary, again, I love Animal Crossing. You should play it. Also, Animal Crossing, sort your shit out. And that's that, okay? I hope you like spending time with me as much as I like spending time with you. And yeah, if you enjoyed this kind of deep dive, I have lots of other long form videos on my channel as well. And yeah, like I said, a little double whammy like and comment on the video is, I cannot tell you how much it means to me. It is invaluable for my growth as a channel, moving forward and everything like that. It would just be so cool of you, thank you. And if you're interested in supporting what I do, I have the £1 Patreon, like I mentioned, and I'll have details of that in the description of this video. So I think that's everything to shill, right? I have more videos like this one. I stream on Tuesdays. Please like and comment. £1 Patreon. Let me know what you thought about Animal Crossing. And tell me who your favourite villager is. And it can't be me, even though I'm in a village. But I'm running out of things to say. Okay, bye.